Welcome back in Tech IVP channel. So Techies, today we are going to discuss about some common and important interview question about SDET role. So these questions are mostly and frequently asked by the interviewer to check your knowledge, and these questions are for the basic level, intermediate level and the advanced level. So guys, let's start and let's explore what are these questions and how you can answer these questions. Okay, but guys, going to before next step, please like, share and subscribe this channel to get more amazing stuff about SDET role interview question. So guys, let's start. The first question is, what are the challenges you faced during the testing? Means challenges. The challenges is, first one is a dynamic element, tedious to handle. Second one is handling pop-up and alert. There is some time we are getting unexpected pop-ups and alert. So how we can handle this one? In upcoming questions we can also discuss how we can handle pop-up and alert. Okay, so this one is a challenge. Second one is synchronization. Synchronization issue means in that synchronization issue we use implicit wait, explicit wait and the fluent wait mechanism basically we can use to achieve the synchronization issue. Next one is browser compatibility issue. This one is a challenge. Test data management challenge, element staleness. Okay, flaky test means sometime test get passed and sometime failed due to inconsistency test environment, timing issue or a dependency on the external data. Next one is CI/CD integration. This one is also challenging. API testing integration, these are also the challenge, and in upcoming slides we can also discuss all these challenges, how we can tackle these. Okay, so basically these are the challenges. So let's see what exactly the next question. The next question is, what strategy did you follow while building a Selenium framework from the scratch? So most of the time interviewer asks, have you built any framework from the scratch, and if you build it, can you describe the architecture level of this framework? So in that case guys, firstly you said that we can choose design pattern, and design pattern depends on the organization level. We can use page factory model, POM, also page factory model and the singleton design pattern, and choosing an appropriate framework means TestNG or Cucumber or a Maven Gradle, which framework we want to go. TestNG and Cucumber is famous automation framework. These are the famous automation framework. Okay, next one, implementing utility. In utility we can implement loggers, configuration management and the custom wait mechanism. Next one is a CI/CD integration. In the once we are building an automation framework, so in that time we can keep in mind it will also deploy in the Jenkins to auto execute your build. So here you can set that we can use Jenkins or GitHub Action to run automation in the pipeline. Okay, next one is a parallel execution. Parallel execution means grid, cloud-based testing, source lab, browser stack to run test in the different environment. Okay, so I hope guys this one is you got understanding about how you can answer the question if someone asks you, have you built automation framework from the scratch? Okay, the next question is, where do you perform a singleton design pattern, or have you used singleton design pattern? If you don't use it, do you have any idea about this one? So singleton design means ensure that only one instance of a class created and provide a global point to access it. Okay, in the Selenium framework, singleton design pattern is often used for the WebDriver instance, and instead of creating multiple WebDriver instance, we can create one shared instance for the entire test execution. So see here guys in the example. So for this one what we can do, so firstly we have create a class. This one is a class. Okay, WebDriver singleton, this one is class. Okay, and then here in this class we can create a method. The method name is WebDriver getDriver, and in this we can initialize our WebDriver. Initialize driver only once. Okay, can be enhanced with configured browser. Configured browser means you can use here Chrome browser, Firefox browser, Safari browser or a Edge browser. Okay, and then it will be returned driver. Then here we can provide quit driver. Once our execution is completed, then our browser get closed or end the session. Okay, now the next thing what we can do in this, we can create a test class where we can this one is simple example browser launch, but exactly this one you can also set that test execution or whatever you want to be, but browser we have initialized here, guys. Browser we have initialized here. Okay, and call this one is in this class. Okay, then in the here what we can do, we have created a class name is browser launch, and here we have to call the method. We have called the WebDriver singleton class, this class WebDriver singleton class. Okay, and call the method get driver, this method. Okay, so these are the related. So I hope guys you can understand about the singleton design pattern. Singleton design pattern means we can create only one access point globally in the singleton design pattern. Okay, the next question, what is the difference between implicit wait, explicit wait and the fluent wait to achieve the synchronization? So wait mechanism, we can use wait to achieve the synchronization issue. Okay, this one is also a challenge, guys. In the last slide we have already discussed what are the challenges you faced the ones you are building the automation framework. So there is a challenge we have discussed about synchronization issue. To achieve the synchronization issue, what we can do, we can use implicit wait, explicit wait and the fluent wait. These three wait we can also use. Okay, also we have one more wait mechanism is called thread.sleep, but this one is a not good practice. So in that case we can use dynamic wait, guys. These are the dynamic wait. Okay, techies, these are the dynamic wait. Okay, the definition first we come on the implicit wait. Global wait that applies to all the element. Global wait that applies to all the element through no such exception behavior. Guys, just keep in mind, most of the time interviewer asks what kind of behavior this wait. So this wait behavior is throws no such element exception if element not found within the time. Okay, then explicit wait for a specific condition before proceeding, and use for specific element using expected condition. This one is a method. Okay, then fluent wait like explicit wait but allow polling frequency and ignoring exception, provide more control over the polling time, but in most of the time we can use this one. Why we can use this one? In upcoming slide we can discuss what exactly the difference between explicit wait and the fluent wait. Okay, the next question is pros and cons implicit wait and the explicit wait. So implicit wait already we have discussed. Implicit wait applies globally, and explicit wait for the specific condition before proceeding. So the pros, simple to implement, applies globally to all the element. Okay, and cons, can cause unnecessary delay. In the explicit wait, efficient and work specific element reduce script execution, means here we can also create a condition in at what time this will be executed. Okay, and the cons must be used carefully to avoid long time during execution. Okay, the next question is, why do we prefer explicit wait instead of the fluent wait? So guys, this one is a really tricky question. So the explicit wait, because it's simple and widely used, it provides predefined condition in expected condition. Okay, and disadvantage of the fluent wait. The disadvantage of fluent wait is it require manual handling of the polling interval. Also increase script complexity. This one is a really tedious to implement. Fluent wait is tedious to implement because it's a really complex. But in comparison of the fluent wait, explicit wait is more easy to implement. Okay, the next question, without implicit wait, will the Selenium script work? Yes, definitely. The script will work, but it might fail if element take time to load. In such cases, explicit wait should be used. Okay, it's not necessary. We can also use, we can every time use implicit wait. We can use explicit wait as well. Okay, the next question is, what is the default polling time in the explicit wait and implicit wait? If we talk about the implicit wait, it continuously check for an element within a specific time period. What exactly you have given, 10 second, 20 second, 30 second, whatever you have given, okay, in the implicit wait. But in the explicit wait, the default polling time is 500 millisecond. Guys, keep in mind, and most of the time interviewer asks what is the default polling time for the explicit wait. Okay, so the next question is, explain synchronization in the Selenium. To achieve synchronization issue, we can use implicit, explicit, thread.sleep, but this one is not recommended. This one is a static wait. This one is static wait, but these both are dynamic wait. Dynamic wait. Okay, the next question, which concept of implemented in explicit and fluent wait? Explicit wait implement expected condition. Implicit wait implement expected condition class. This one is a class, guys. Expected condition is a class. And while in the fluent wait, we can use implement function, okay, and interface from the java.util function. This one, from this one we can use. Okay, the next one is, explain abstraction and interface with respect of the Selenium. This one is the most commonly frequently asked. Have you used abstraction and interface in the Selenium? So in that case, you can answer, abstraction hide implementation detail and only expose necessary functionality. Abstraction means hide implementation detail and only expose necessary functionality. And if we talk about interface in the Selenium, WebDriver is the interface, and class like Chrome driver implemented it. So this one is a explanation for the abstraction and interface. Okay, and for example, if we see in the example, here we have created a class browser setup. Okay, and in the browser setup, what we have to do, we have to initialize our driver, this one, WebDriver manager, Firefox driver, and the setup. Okay, and here if you see WebDriver manager.chrome driver.setup and this one, and here we have to be maximize our browser. So this one is a abstraction, guys. This one is a abstraction. New Chrome driver. New is a keyword and a Chrome is a class. New is a keyword and Chrome is a class. And WebDriver, see here, guys, WebDriver is a interface, and the reference name of reference, the driver is a reference name, and driver reference name, to the driver reference name, what we can use, we can call the method of the WebDriver implemented. In the WebDriver interface, the method implemented we can call using this reference variable using the driver. Okay, so guys, this one is an example of the abstraction and interface. The next question, what is the difference between factory design and the singleton framework? Factory design framework and the singleton design framework. So the factory design pattern create object based on the condition. Create object based on the condition, while singleton ensures single instance of a class. Previously we have already discussed about the singleton, how singleton is work and how we can implement. In the singleton we can create a single instance of a class. Okay, and in the, if we talk about the example for the page factory, browser factory, but in the singleton, WebDriver singleton. Okay, next question, what is POM? POM means page object and the page factory model. POM is a page object model, separate UI element for the test script. Here we have to create a separate classes. Okay, but in the page factory we can use @find by annotation to initialize element efficiently. Okay, so this one is the example, guys. See here example, we can create a class browser launch, okay, and use the annotation find by, and also we can use find by annotation, and this one is our locator name. Okay, and then use web element username, and in the next method what we can use, page factory dot init element. Init means initialize element, initialize our WebDriver using the this. Okay, so guys, this one is a POM and the page factory model. The next question, have you used interface in your framework other than Selenium interface? Any other framework, any other interface? The basic interface we have already discussed. WebDriver is the interface. This is generally used, but rather other than. So the first one is custom reporting interface. Okay, the custom reporting interface, I create a report manager interface to abstract reporting logic. Okay, this allows me to easily switch between different reporting tools like extend report and the allure. Okay, and guys, this one is an example. Here we have to create an interface like report manager, and in this we have provided a method. These are the method. Okay, this one is an interface. Okay, and the next one implemented, you can also answer this one. I define DB manager to connect with the database. In the DB manager, what we can use, connection. Okay, connection, get connection name and the result set, and whatever query you want to put, like here you can provide select star from employee table. So this one query you can provide here. Okay, and white close connection. Once you have to use, then you can close this one. So this interface you can also create in your framework. Then custom utility interface. Third one is a custom utility interface. So the guys, in the custom utility interface, you can answer, in some cases I create utility interface for usable component like file handling, Excel operating system, and Apache POI and the API utility. So in that Excel utility, for example, to read the cell data, we can use sheet name, row name, and the column name, and then write, if we want to write something on the sheet name, row name, on which row, on which column we want to be right. Okay, but in the next slide we can also discuss about this one, Excel utility. This is really one of the most important interview question, how you can read write Excel file. Okay, and how you can capture data from the Excel file. Okay, so guys, these are the interface other than the Selenium interface. Okay, so these three you can answer. Again, we'll repeat: custom reporting interface, database connection, and the custom utility interface. Other than these are other than the WebDriver interface. Other than the WebDriver interface. Okay. The next one, guys. How do you achieve inheritance in your framework? This one is really one of the most important question. By creating browser launch class. Inheritance means to access the property of one class into another class. Inheritance means to access the property of one class into another class. To access the property of one class into another class is called inheritance. Inheritance is called inheritance. This is called inheritance. Okay. So in your framework, in your automation framework, how you can achieve this? So in that case, firstly you have to create a browser launch class. Okay, and then in this you have to write the method to launch your browser. WebDriver equal to new Chrome driver. You can also use system.set property. Also you can use here WebDriver manager. Okay, and then in that case you can extend this class here in your test class. Okay, this one is your browser launch class, and in that case you have to extend this one and directly call in the test. Okay, in next video also we can discuss about the TestNG annotations, about the TestNG framework. This is really one of the important interview question about the TestNG. Most of the time interviewer ask about the TestNG. Do you have you knowledge about the TestNG? And in the third part we can also discuss about Cucumber framework, and then we can discuss about the manual testing interview question. Okay, so guys, this video is exactly we have 4 part. Okay, so in the first part we have to discuss about the core. In current video we are discussing about Core Selenium interview question. Okay, so this one is a guys simple example of the inheritance framework. We have to create a browser launch class and extend this one is in the login test class. Okay, and directly once you have to execute, then it will be by default launch your browser, and then your website get launched. This one. Okay, the next question, What is WebDriver? Name method without implementation. WebDriver, guys, this is one of the most important question. WebDriver is an interface in the Selenium. Method without implementation, like get, find element and find elements. But guys, keep in mind, these methods actually written in which interface? These are written in the search context interface. These are written in the search context interface. Okay, these move because everything work in the searching way in the automation. Okay, next question. Which one is the fastest locator in the Selenium? So ID is the fastest locator. Okay, next question. What does mean by double semicolon? It's double, not a semicolon, it's a colon. Okay, in XPath, used for the access like falling and sibling. Double colon is used for falling sibling. Okay, next one. Explain driver manager window dot maximize. Guys, this command is used for the to maximize your browser, or in that place we can also use minimize. Okay, maximize and minimize. So see here, driver, a reference name of your WebDriver instance like Chrome driver, Firefox driver, etc. Manage, return instance of the option interface. This one is a option interface which provide method to manage browser related setting like time or cookies and windows. Okay, the next one is window. This one, window. What window? Returns a window interface. This one is also a return a window interface that let you manage browser window operational like maximize, minimize, full screen or setting to the size. In that case, in the window interface, you can set size of your window, means your browser size. You can use in the maximize way, you can use in the minimize way, you can make a full screen or a specific custom size. Okay, a custom size. And then maximize means this one is a method and to current browser window to fit the screen. Okay, it is useful for ensuring all the elements. Okay, what is the difference between get and the navigate? This is one of the most common and frequent interview question. Get, what is the difference between get and navigate? Get load a new web page, while navigate allow to forward backward navigation, also refresh. Okay, so this one is the basic difference. And here one more interface, one more difference. Get will be execute only once all the elements are loaded. Once all the web page elements are loaded, then it will be execute to the next step. But in navigation, it will not hold for load all the element. Got it? Okay. So guys, these are the basic difference about get and navigate method. Okay. Now come on the next question. How do you check for broken links on a web page? How do you check broken link? So to check the broken link, so guys, this one is a basic logic. First, fetch all the anchor tag, then extract href attribute. Okay, and then send HTTP request to extract the URL, and then verify HTTP response. Valid link return 200, 400 or XYZ. 200, 400 or like 300, 500. What response we are getting? 500. Okay. Broken link return 400. Okay. So this one is a guys example. Okay. So in the example, what we can do? So firstly, we have to initialize our browser. Then navigate to URL page, and first, in the first case, fetch all the anchor tag, all tags all anchor tag. Anchor tag means in which link is placed. Okay, so the anchor tag name is A. Okay, this one. Okay, first we have to fetch this one, and then we can use logic here for loop we can use. Okay, iterate all the links. Okay, now get attribute. What attribute we are on getting on, and every link have a attribute href. Okay, but going to next step, let's come on this pointer first. So here guys, we have implemented a one more method, check broken link. String URL, whatever URL we want to go, and then try catch block we have to use. In that case, firstly we have to check connection is open. Connection should be open. Okay, and then we have to connect this one and get the response code. We are getting 200, 400 or XYZ, but in the broken link majorly we have to get the 400. If we are getting 200, it will be not broken. Okay, also you can implement all other status code like 300, 400, 500, 100. Okay, and then you have to print this one is a broken link, and then exception, link is broken, and then we can call this method here, check broken link, and provide the URL here, whatever URL you want to provide. This one URL. Okay, so guys, this one is a basic simple logic about to check the broken links. Okay, so let's come on the next question. Difference between submit and click. Difference between submit and click in the Selenium. So click any clickable element, like work on buttons, link and radio buttons, while submit work use only on the form elements. Okay, the next question, difference between absolute XPath and the relative XPath. This is generally most common and one of the easiest interview question, and 99% this question is asked by the interview. What is the difference between absolute XPath and the relative XPath? So the absolute path, guys, start from the root, right structure. Okay, this one is a structure of the absolute path. Okay, firstly we have to come on the first tag, HTML tag, then we have to come on the body tag, then we have to come on the div, first div, then table row, and then table data. Okay, and this one is a relative XPath. This one is a, and absolute XPath is start from the single forward slash, and this one is relative XPath is double forward slash. But recommendation is we can use generally relative XPath because it is more robust. We can create it dynamically. The next upcoming slide we can also discuss about how relative XPath will be work. Okay, the next question is difference between find element and find elements. Guys, we have already discussed about find element and find elements. These are written in which interface? Search context interface. These are written in the search context interface. Okay, the find element, single element, no, and exception, no such element exception. This is a counter question. If interviewer asks what is the difference between find element and find elements, so in that case you have to simply answer find element return single element, while find element return the list of the element. But the counter question, what kind of exception they have? Okay, return, and so the exception, this one is no such element exception, and in the find element return an empty list. Okay, we can use this one. This one is interface, list interface. Okay, so this one is, guys, example for find element and find elements. Okay, this one is so majorly find elements we can use, for example, in the broken link. Previously we have already discussed how to check the broken link. So once we are going to check the broken link, in that case we have to use find elements, because in that case we have to return bunch of links. But once we have to go on to click on the single element like submit button or radio button, in that case we have to use a find element method. Okay, and both are implemented in search context interface. This one is a topmost interface. In last video I was already we are already discussed about the search context. Okay, please check this video. The next one is difference between frame and iframes. This one is the most frequent question. The definition. Firstly, we come on the definition about the frame. A separate document inside a web page. Suppose you have a web page. This one is a web page. Okay, there is a separate document. This one is a frame. Okay, and inline frame inside another frame. This one is a first frame, and inside this one is a iframe. Okay, this one is a iframe. Okay, and uses log common. Now old HTML framework tags commonly used in a modern web page. Okay, so in the current trending market, guys, we can use iframe, not the frame. This one is a old one. Selenium handling. In the Selenium, how we can handle? So in that case, we can use driver.switch to frame and driver.switch to frame. The same we can use here. Firstly, we have to be suppose this one is your web page, this one is your web page, and this one is your frame 1, and this one is frame 2. So in that case, you have launched this URL. Then in that case, you have to be write the command driver.switch to frame, this one. Then it will be come to this frame, and after that you can enter in this iframe using this method. Okay, driver.switch to frame, whatever frame name, f1, f2, whatever frame 1, 2, whatever. Okay, the next question, return type of find element and find elements. We already discussed. Find element return single web element, and find element return the list of the element, web element. Okay, next one, what error will be thrown when no element is found in the find element and find elements? So in the find element case, the exception is thrown is no such element exception, no such element not found. And in the find elements, it will return empty list. Okay, the next question is, guys, exception faced in Selenium. What kind of exception you are faced in the Selenium? So this is one of the most important interview question. What kind of the exception? And this question is most of the time asked by the interviewer, the person who have experience about 4 to 5 years, 4+ years of experience the candidate have. Okay, so the exception, the Selenium exception, guys, keep in mind, in the Selenium exception, no such element exception, timeout exception, steal element exception, element clickable, interface exception, and Java exception, null pointer exception, arithmetic exception, and array index out of bound. So guys, these are the exception we have faced in the Selenium framework. Okay, how to handle stale element reference exception? Okay, how to handle stale. Interviewer asks what kind of exception you have faced, and you answer no such element exception or a stale element exception. In that case, what you can do? So in that case, guys, we can use wait mechanism. This one is also a challenge. This, guys, relate this question of the first question we have already discussed, what kind of challenge you faced once you are building any automation framework. So this one is also a challenge. Okay, the stale element exception challenge. So in that case, what you can use, we can relocate element before interacting. Okay, and also we can use explicit wait to wait for the element to reload. Okay, so this one is a reference, this one is an example. WebDriver wait, new WebDriver wait driver, and this one is a time. This is a 10 second, time second, 20 second, whatever you want to provide here. And after that, wait until expected condition. It work on this class. It work on the this, guys, this keep in mind, this one is a explicit wait. Explicit wait. This is not implicit wait. This one is a explicit wait, and it work on the expected condition class. Presence of element, located by clickable element, element to be visible, and then your XPath or whatever locator you want to provide here. Okay, so I hope you understand about the how to handle stale element reference exception. Okay, now come on the next question. Interface used in the Selenium. What kind of interface used in the Selenium? So the interface you can use WebDriver interface, JavaScript executor interface, take screenshot interface, alert interface, web element interface. But here is a one more important: search context interface. This one is a topmost interface, and here two methods are implemented: find element and find elements. Okay, in the search context. Okay, where is interface used in the Selenium? So interface is used in the base class test, in the form also. Okay, so for example, see here. So firstly we have create a class browser launch. Okay, and here we have to initialize our WebDriver. Okay, we have initialized here WebDriver, and in the WebDriver what we have to initialize our browser launch code. Okay, WebDriver driver, and then this one is a method, public void setup, and WebDriver manager, Chrome driver, and then setup driver equal to new Chrome driver or Firefox driver or a Edge driver, Safari driver, whatever you want to use. And then this class we can extend here. Okay, class login test, extend browser launch, and then execute your test case here. Okay, so in that way you have to implement your inheritance. Okay, we can use implement inheritance. The next question: how do you initialize web element in the POM? What happen if not initialize? Yeah, this one is a really important information and tricky interview question. Okay, so the first thing is use page factory to initialize element. We can use page factory to initialize our element in the constructor, and if not initialize, then we got null pointer exception. And this exception is in Java. This is not Selenium exception. This is Java exception. Okay, for example guys, see here. For example, we have created a class browser launch, and we can use annotation @findby. Okay, and in the findby we have to provide here our locator name and then web element username. Okay, and then in the next method, what we can do, we can use page factory. Class and initialize element driver, and this means for the same class. Okay, next question: if both implicit and explicit wait are used, which takes priority? Explicit wait takes priority over the implicit wait. Not a good practice to mix both. So at a time you can also use explicit wait. Okay, the next question is difference between close and quit. This is the most common interview question and frequent interview question, and this question is generally asked by the fresher over the beginner. This question is for the fresher. Okay, most of the time interviewer asks this question to the fresher level. Okay, close only the current window. Close all browser window. Suppose for example, this one is your browser. Okay, and one tab is open, second tab is open, third tab is open. Now you are on this tab and you can use close command. So in that case, this browser will be closed, 2 will be remains. But if you use quit, then it will be hit here and close complete session. I hope you understand. Okay, next question: how do you handle alert in the Selenium? To handle the alerts in the Selenium, again this one is a challenge. We have already discussed in the first question. This one, how do you what are the challenges you have faced once you are building an automation framework? So in that challenge we have already mentioned alert and pop-up handling. Okay, to handle the pop-up and alert, we can use alert class. Okay, and we can use method driver.switch2.alert and print text, whatever text we are getting on this one, and accept or dismiss. Here we have two mechanisms. We can accept or dismiss. If we have to accept, then it will be click on this one, and if we have to dismiss, then it will be click on the cancel. Okay, to handle alerts. The next question is how to handle pop-ups appearing at unknown time. Unknown time means you have no knowledge about this time is pop-up will be appearing. So in that case, guys, we can use explicit wait with the expected condition alert present. Okay, so guys, this one is an example. WebDriver wait, new WebDriver wait, and driver reference name, and then duration, whatever duration you want to provide, 20 second, 30 second, 40 second, so on. Okay, and then use expected condition alert present. In this class, this method is present. This one is a class, this one is a class. In this class, this method is present. Expected condition dot alert present, then you can accept or a dismiss. You can accept or a dismiss. Okay, the next question, how do you handle file upload when input does not have type file? So in that case, guys, we can use auto IT or okay for non-Selenium file upload, or use robot class. So for the robot class, okay, we can use robot class to handle the file upload. Okay, auto IT basically used to work with the window, work with the window. Okay, the next question, how to perform keyboard operation in the Selenium. To perform the keyboard operation, we can use action class. We can use actions class, not action. Action is an interface. We can use actions class here. In the actions class, we can use actions driver and send keys enter dot perform, okay. What does this snippet means? This snippet, interviewer gives you this snippet. What do you mean by WebDriver driver equal to new Chrome driver, WebDriver driver equal to new Firefox driver? Okay, so guys, this follows the concept of upcasting. This is a concept of upcasting, okay, in Java, using the interface type WebDriver to refer to object of implementing class Chrome driver. It provides flexibility to support cross-browser testing. Okay, in that place you can also write new Firefox driver also. Okay, so the next question is, where can dynamic polymorphism be observed in Selenium WebDriver? So guys, here dynamic polymorphism method overriding occurs when WebDriver driver equal to new Chrome driver equal to new Firefox driver. This is overriding. Method calls are resolved at runtime. Driver.get will call Chrome driver or Firefox driver accordingly. Okay, WebDriver is an interface and Chrome driver and Firefox overrides it. And guys, keep in mind, these both are the classes. Chrome driver, Firefox driver, Edge driver, these are the classes. Okay, the next question is difference between single slash and the double forward slash. So single slash refers to the absolute XPath, and double forward slash refers to the relative XPath. So this one is the example. Okay, next question, if proper XPath CSS selector and ID are not available, how do you identify an object? This is really tricky interview question, and most of the time interview are. So in that case, guys, what we can use other attribute like name, class, text, contains, preceding sibling, parent, child, etc. Or we can use JavaScript executor, or we can use directly with the element. Okay, just give me a moment. So the next question is attribute of CSS selector. So the attribute is ID, class selector, tag, child selector, and descendant sibling. These are the CSS attribute. Okay, which is fastest, XPath or CSS? So previously we have already discussed which is the fastest locator, id is the fastest locator, and which one is the fastest in both XPath or CSS. CSS faster than XPath because it uses browser native engine. XPath required traversal from root, especially from the complex query. XPath is more feasible, allow parent to child and sibling navigation. So in that case, CSS is more faster. Okay. How to get nth element using XPath and the CSS selector. In the XPath, what we can use XPath, this one XPath, okay, and this one, nth means whatever it's 4th point, 5th point, 6th point, whatever. And the CSS selector, we can use this one, this position, okay, this position. It's on the 3rd position, it's on the 4th position, it will be on the nth position. Okay. The next question is how to find parent, grandparent using only CSS. CSS, guys, keep in mind, CSS does not support traversing backward. No parent selector here, but you can use JavaScript to inject with the CSS selector. Okay, so in that case, we can use JavaScript. So in that case, we have to create a return document query and then child selector and the parent node, not directly. CSS not work directly. Okay. The next question is, will driver.find element throw an exception? No. If no element are found, it return empty list. Previously we have already discussed. Okay. Unlike find element, throw no such element exception. Okay. The next question is, what is returned by driver.manager? So it will return window handling, cookie handling, and timeout handling. So maximize, minimize, whatever you want to use here. Cookie handling you can also use, and timeout you can also get in the return once we have to use driver.manage. Okay. The next question, how to find an element with the dynamic ID. So in that case, guys, if it's a ID is dynamic, in that case what we can use, see here, we can use a common XPath here. This one is common, this one is a common, this one is a common, this one is a common. But see here, contains text. Dynamically we have contains text, call logs, weekly, monthly, and quarterly. So all the text are different. So in that way we can handle dynamically. Dynamic element. The next one, how to initialize element in the POM. So in the POM we can use initialize element, page factory init element. So firstly we had to create a class sign up page, WebDriver driver equal to, and then we can use annotation @findY, and then here we can use page factory init element. Okay, and this one is we have to be call here sign up page, sign up, new sign up page, and then driver you have to provide here, and then here you have to provide your XPath and whatever you want to provide and whatever key you want to be sent. Okay. The next question is, get value from the drop down and print them in the ascending order. So in that case, guys, we have to use list interface from the Java. Okay, list, and here we can use select class. This is a class, we can use select class. Okay, and driver.find element, whatever ID you have to provide here, XPath you have to provide here, then you have to use list interface and option, this is a reference name, and select.get options. Okay, and then extract text and sort. So to extract the text, what we can do, drop down new array list, we have to use array list here. Okay, and then get the text method, and then collection.sort. This is a part of the collections interface. Okay, and then print here whatever value you have to provide, and it will be auto sort in ascending order or descending order. Ascending order means ABC. Suppose you have drop down like Delhi first, then Gurgaon, okay, then Gurgaon, then Noida, then Agra. So in that case, Agra should be first, then Delhi, then Gurgaon, Agra, Delhi, Gurgaon, and then fourth pointer is Noida. In that way it will be sorted. Okay, is take screenshot an interface or a class? It's an interface, guys. It's an interface. Okay, for example, and most of the time interviewer asks how you can take a screenshot. So take screenshot is an interface in the Selenium. For example, take screenshot, this one is a reference name, take screenshot, and here we can use file is a class, okay, and this one is a reference name, and using a take screenshot, this method is available in the take screenshot interface, get screenshot as output file, okay, and here we have to provide the source and then path where we want to be stored. It's in the JPG format, PNG format, or .bmp format, okay. The next question, why use Selenium despite many third-party libraries? So Selenium we can use for the open source, support multiple browser, large community support, cross-browser language compatibility, easy integration with a TestNG, JUnit or a Cucumber. So that's why we can use Selenium. And it is one of the most important features is the open source. It's free. Okay. So that's why we can use Selenium. Next question, why use build and perform with the action class? Action is a class. We have already discussed, guys. Action is a class. To perform interaction with the keyboard or a mouse, okay. So in that case, build complies multiple action into a single step, and perform execute actions. Without build, perform work single step action, and for multiple step action always use build. So guys, this one is a really important interview question. Can we use build without perform? Can we use perform without build? So we can also use, in upcoming question we can also discuss about this one. So guys, this one is the example. Actions is a class and the reference name, okay. New actions driver, web element driver.find, xpath, whatever locator you want to provide here, okay, and then move to element, click build.perform. So in that case, if we use perform, it work as a single step action, but if we want to multi-step action, then we can use build.perform, okay. The next question is, can we use perform alone in the scripting without build? Can we use perform alone in the scripting without build? Yes, definitely we can use, because perform alone if we have only one action in the action class, but if we want to be execute multiple steps, then we can use build method, okay. So these are the example. Action.act, new actions, okay, this one is a class. Act.move to element, click dot perform. But if we have multiple chained together, then we can use build.perform. Ensure all the actions are executed together. All the actions work fine without build, and this one is the example. The next question is, difference between build and the perform. So build complies multiple action into a single step but does not execute them, and perform execute the compiled action or a single action, okay. Without build, the script might executed one action at a time instead of together. So guys, this one is the example. Previously we have already discussed, okay. Return type of window handles and get window. Now come on this point, okay. Get window handle, return type string, and description. If we talk about the description, then return current window using unique ID. And get window handles, once we have to use, we want to work with the multiple windows, in that case we have to use get window handles, and its return type is this one, set string, okay. Return all window ID in a set. This one, get window handle, return current window. Suppose you have this window and this one and this one, tab 1, tab 2, tab 3. So if you use window handle, then it will be return this ID, and if you have to be use get window handles, then it will be return this ID in the set string, okay. So see here example, string parent window string parent window driver dot get window handles, and set string all windows driver dot get window handles, okay. The next question is, how to switch back to parent window in the Selenium. So this is really practical question, guys. Most of the time interviews say that please present your screen and write code to switch back from parent window in the Selenium. So in that case, what you have to do, firstly get parent window, navigate to the specific URL, and then you have to capture the parent, you have to handle parent ID, and then you can use set. you can use set interface. Okay, and in this get window you can use get window handles and provide a logic for string, and if window equals to parent, if window equals to this one, then driver dot switch to window, else you can close it or driver dot switch to parent window. So this one is a simple logic. Okay, the next one, if a button is disabled, how to check using get attribute. So in that case guys, what we can use, if button is disabled attribute is present, then button is disabled. Okay, so in that case what we have to use, this one is example, web element button driver dot find element, and then we have to get the attribute. This one is the method, get attribute method. If we present here disabled, then if disabled equals to null, is not equals to null, then it will be disabled and else it will be enabled. Okay, so in that case also you can use click method here. Okay, button dot click, whatever you want to be used here. Okay. The next question, explain method overloading with Selenium and example. Method overloading means same method with a different parameter. Overloading means same method with a different parameter. So see here guys, same method, click element is used with a different parameter, click method, this one. Both method name is same, return type is same, modifier is same, accessibility is same, return type is same, method name is same. But see here, this one is also available, but this one is also not available here. So parameters are different. Okay, this one is called method overloading. It is a concept of polymorphism. Polymorphism means to do a task in multiple ways. So in here, in both the method, what we can do, we can use click method. We can clicking on an element, okay, but using a different way. Here we have to also provide a time, but here we didn't provide the time. Okay, so this one is example of method overloading. How do you read Excel in the Selenium? Okay, to read the Excel file in the Selenium, we can use Apache POI. Library. We can use Apache POI library or dependency. Okay, jar files also you can set that. Apache POI library we can use. Okay, so in that we have to use XSSF workbook, XSF sheet. So guys, see here logic. Firstly, we have to use file input stream. If we want to be read data. Okay, if we want to be read data, so in that case we have to use input stream. Okay, whatever path you have to provide here. Then firstly you have to go on with the workbook, Excel sheet, then row, and then cell, and then print out the cell whatever you want to, and then close the workbook. The concurrent counter question, how to handle different data types. So in that case we have to use get cell type or set value to write data, to get data. If you want to be fetch some data from the Excel sheet, so in that case we have to use get cell type, determine column, string, numeric or boolean, whatever the value you are getting, and to write data. So in that case we have to use file output stream instead of this one. If you want to be read, then we can use file input stream, and if we want to be write, then we can use file output stream. Okay, the next question, do you use a property file in the framework, in your Selenium framework? Which Java concept is used? Yes, to store configuration data, URL, credential, we can use .property file. The concept Java collections, hash map and property class. So guys, this one is example. We have created a method, public static void read property file, throw exception, it will be through property class. New property, we have to initialize this class, and file input stream. Okay, this one is also class, and config file where you have to kept, and then load file, and then string URL, get property, whatever URL you want to provide. There is the exact URL. Okay, so the next question, how to handle unpredictable pop-up in the Selenium. So in that case guys, we can use try catch block or accept or dismiss. Previously we have already discussed about this logic. Okay, how to count link on the web page. So to count the link on the web page, we can use a mechanism find element. We can use find elements to find the link. In the case of the broken link, we can also use the concept of find elements. Okay, so here you can use list and then find elements by the tag name, and every link is with the tag name of the A, and then total link available link dot size. The next question, how to achieve POM if application has 10 pages. So in that case, create a separate class for each page, store reusable method inside the base class, and use page factory to initialize the element. Okay, annotation used in the POM, find by, before method, after method. These are the annotation we have to use in the POM. Different type of navigation command in the Selenium. Navigation command is driver.navigate to, driver.back, driver.navigate to, forward, driver.navigate to, refresh. These are the 4 commands with the navigate method. So guys, previously we have discussed what is the difference between get and the navigate. So this one is also a difference. Get have a single method, like using the get you have to be navigate to the URL, but using the navigate you can use these 4 commands also, backward, forward, refresh, and to. Difference between asset and verify. Asset and verify. Asset, stop test execution if condition fail. Verify, continue execution even if condition is fail. Use your testng and JUnit. And verify Selenium test script. It's a simple. You can also provide the if condition here. If A equal to 10, test pass, test else test fail. Okay, this one is a verify condition. Example, assert equal to soft assert. With the verify we can also use a soft assert. So this one is an example of soft assert. Okay, so guys, keep in mind, here is forcefully is failed but not fail. Okay, so this one is a basic difference between assert and verify. How to load a file using Selenium. To load a file in the Selenium, we can use for Chrome, and we can use Chrome options. In the options we can provide the argument like download file directory and then path. For the Firefox, we can Firefox profile. Guys, keep in mind, here we can use Chrome options, and here we can use Firefox profile, and then provide the path. Okay, how to execute Selenium is headless mode. To execute the Selenium in the browser in the headless mode, then you can use for the Chrome with the option. This one is a class Chrome option. Okay, and for the Firefox options. Okay, and provide the here true, but here we have to provide the argument headless. Okay, set headless. There is a default method set headless, but there is no method. Here is you have to provide a specific argument. In the headless mode you want to be run or not, and here you have to provide true or false. Okay, difference between click in the web element versus action class. Click, directly click on the element, use low level interaction. Okay, uses work on the normal clickable element, use for the hidden over the element. Okay, how to perform right click in the Selenium. So in that case, what we have to use, we can use method context.click, context click, action dot context click, element dot perform. Also we can use here build dot perform, or without we can also use build. Okay, how to scroll down a page. So to scroll down or scroll up page, you can use, there is no mechanism, direct mechanism in the Selenium, not available. In the Selenium, there is no direct mechanism to interact with the window. So in that case, we have to use JavaScript executor to scroll up and scroll down. So in that case, we have to use a JavaScript executor. Okay, this is the interface, and execute script window scroll by 0 to 500 bottom, or if you want to bottom to up, then reverse it. Okay. Next question, what will be get window handles return? To set of the window ID. Okay, window handles means it will be return bunch of IDs. Okay, how to automate window application. To automate window application, we use auto IT, robot class, or Seculi we can use. So I hope guys this video is really helpful for you to get more stuff about interview question for the SDET role. Please like, share and subscribe this channel to get more amazing stuff about interview question for the SDET role. And in the upcoming part, we are also discuss about testng interview question. So have a nice day guys. Bye.